Welcome back, everyone. One of the topics you probably know if you watch the program, one of the topics that's really got us lately is income inequality. We've been doing a lot of stories on it, and I think some of it's got to do with the current political climate. But I think overall it's a message that just is woven into the history of this country in ways that are positive, but in ways that sometimes are not so positive. We were at an event at Cafe Lena not too long ago, and we met my guest today. This is June Ragnacci. Welcome, June.
Thank you.
Very nice to have you here. June has an amazing background and grew up in poverty, really by her own sheer determination, became an LPN, and then became aware of issues in the healthcare industry that upset her, and she decided to do something about it. So with that said, we thought, wow, we really wanted to invite you on to talk a bit about your background, a bit about the things that you feel are worth fighting for, to work on this question of income inequality. You grew up in poverty, didn't you?
I did. My father was a small engine repair mechanic.
Right.
He had a heart attack at the age of 55,
Mm-hmm.
lived with cardiomyopathy until he died at the age of 66.
Got it. Now, that, of course, presented all kinds of issues for the family. And again, you think about that, what a difference a day can make. One day you're healthy, the next day you get sick, the next day you get a heart attack, you get a stroke, or whatever it is, no fault of your own, and all of a sudden the family is in crisis.
Yes.
You found a way out of it. You
I did.
decided that you wanted to be a nurse.
Yes. I was a CNA. Mm-hmm. And then I took the first year of LPN class in my senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. I graduated the year after. Mm-hmm. And I've been a nurse for 21 years.
Outside of the fact you're probably working 16 hours a day on that degree, that's a quick turnaround. Even I know that. You've been in the healthcare industry, I think you were saying about 20 years, right? 21 years or so?
It's 21 years as an LPN.
Yes.
But in healthcare field, about 23, 24.
I've got it. What makes someone like yourself want to pursue a career like that?
I grew up with lupus. I had grand mal seizures when I was 9 years old, and then I had rheumatoid arthritis when I was 14 years old. I know what pain is like, and I know what being a patient is like, and I decided that I wanted to step into the healthcare field to help others like me.
Mm-hmm. What you just said is very typical of anybody. Firefighters are like this. To give you another example, a lot of police are like this as well, where they just really want to give back to the community, or they want to do something to help the well-being of a community, healthcare workers especially. Now, I've read a lot lately, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers have, there's a lot of income inequality for healthcare workers.
There is.
Where's the basis of that coming from?
Well, the basis of that is historically nursing has been perceived as a woman's profession.
Oh, okay.
But in the last overall couple of decades, more men have entered the profession, thus raising the wages. And also with healthcare workers' unions, they have advocated for a livable wage and decent benefits.
Mm-hmm. But, you can move into a number of other different industries, and kind of the same rules apply. You may have noticed her shirt. We recently celebrated, strange word to use, celebrate, but we honored the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And right before he was assassinated, he and other members of that coalition formed the Poor People's Campaign. And there's a movement now, partially because of what you're describing in your own specific category, but also just the general mood in this country at this time, to revitalize the Poor People's Campaign and what it stood for. And June is involved with an event tomorrow night, Tuesday, in Fort Edward?
At Fort Edward, St. Joseph's Church.
Okay.
My 11-year-old said, "Mom, whatever you do on TV, don't stutter," and I just did.
I stutter, that's fine. Don't worry about it.
But that being said, it's at St. Joseph's Church in Fort Edward from 6:30 to 8:30. And please come. It's going to be great. It's going to show people a way to advocate for themselves.
Yes, so in other words, we're not talking about protest here. We're not talking about left or we're talking about right. We're talking about decency. We're talking about income equality. many of the principles, I'm old enough to remember Poor People's Campaign, many of the principles that they really wanted to make people aware of were the things that were just the basic tenets of providing for yourself and providing for your family. It didn't get more complicated than that. Nobody had an axe to grind. They were just looking for fairness. So St. Joseph's at Fort Ed will be there, by the way. We're going to cover that and have a report on it here tomorrow night, 6:30 to 8:30. Doesn't cost anything. Just go meet your neighbors. Go over there and find out a little bit more about what the original principles were behind the Poor People's Campaign. Become aware of some of the issues that we're talking about that she lives every single day. And then maybe the next step is the logical step, is that through nonviolent means, you'll be able to form a block of people, use the power to vote, use your purchase power to be able to foster the agenda.
Exactly. 50 years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King, prior to his death, started at this Poor People's Campaign. This is not a resurgence. This is a continuation of his movement.
Yes, great.
We are fighting systemic racism, the war economy, militarism, and poverty. We are fighting these things that are happening in the capital region and beyond. This is a wake-up call for America. We're going to be in all 50 states in the capitals, and we're going to be in Washington, D.C. We're going to start 40 days of action starting on Mother's Day. And this is a point in history where we can stand together and say, enough is enough.
I've got it. Well, you know what? We can all do our part by taking the first step. Fort Edward, St. Joe's Church, 6:30 tomorrow night, Tuesday night, and learn more about this. Well, June, a pleasure to meet you. Thank you very much for taking the time
to come in.
You're quite welcome. And you can see this interview again. You can go to our website, looktvonline.com.